Hello everyone, welcome to the AWS Data Engineer Training Program. Today we'll be talking about IAM, that is the first topic from AWS. So yesterday we created our AWS trial account and we did few things like providing the email address for your billing alerts, and we talked about the brief introduction about AWS services, like what are the services available for storage, what are the services available for processing, what is the serverless services, what are different database services available, and all. That was just a brief, have a look at the services name, I would say, because we will be exploring all those services in much more detail and in practical manner in our upcoming classes. Today's class is about IAM, that stands for Identity Access Management. So before you start doing your project, doing your day-to-day activities, right? First of all, we should have some users created in your AWS account. And definitely those users will need some permissions. And we cannot blindly allow the users to do everything on the trial account. That's also not good, right? So whatever bare minimum permissions are required for that particular user, we will be only allocating that. And on top of that, we can create different users, different groups, and there are many more things which we will be doing during our today's class. So the agenda for today's class is overview of IAM service, root account versus IAM user, MFA, that we threw some light yesterday also, that is multi-factor authentication, and it's a like good practice to keep MFA enabled to avoid any unnecessary charges on your card. We'll talk about IAM users, IAM groups, IAM roles, then AWS managed policies, and creating customer managed policies. All these things we'll be exploring and doing practically, so you don't need to remember anything. Starting with multi-factor authentication. So if you go to your account, go to your AWS console, right? And if you go to IAM, right, you will find a message over there that MFA is not enabled for your account. So let's do that first of all. Even I created my account yesterday only after our training, and my account is activated. My account is ready for use. But one thing is there, security recommendation. You can see this one. This is not mandatory. I mean, if you don't do it, it will your you can still do everything. But it's recommended, and I would also say you should go with this. So you can see this add MFA for root user. As we discussed yesterday, root user is the main user who created the AWS account, and he or she has full power. They can launch any service, they can terminate any service, they can even terminate the entire AWS account. They can do that. But definitely every team member, every developer, every tester in our team, we will not give this root privileges to them, right? But for root user, we should enable MFA. So I will click on add MFA. There are many ways to add MFA. You can even purchase some physical device that will display some unique code, like 6-digit unique code, and that code will be required every time you will log in into your AWS account. But nowadays, with the technology enhancement, buying any hardware, buying any special device is not required. You can install some application on your mobile phone, whether it's Android or iPhone. You can install that, and that application will help you to generate some OTP type of code every time you will log in into your AWS account. Okay, so you can see few details here. My account name is, I mean, you can give any meaningful name. I have given my name, and there is an email address over there. There is a unique AWS account ID, and that's all. Now you see that you do not have MFA assigned. That's fine, we'll do that. So we'll click this one. Okay, so there are many ways, as you can see here. One way is the app. You can see that the best and the convenient method. Authenticate using a code generated by an app installed on your mobile device or your computer. This is the convenient way to do this MFA part. Apart from that, you can say buy some key and all, which is not required. So we'll go with the first option only, this one, and you can give some name if you want. I am giving like my AWS MFA. Okay, you can give any name. It's just for click on next. Okay, so it is saying that install a compatible application such as Google Authenticator, Duo Mobile, or Authy app on your mobile device. There are many more actually. You can see the complete list here. But the best and the simplest is Google Authenticator. Go to your Play Store or App Store, install Google Authenticator, and we should be good. After that, you will be scanning the QR code from here. So let me click on show QR code and I will open my Google Authenticator app, which is already installed on my phone. I'm opening it. It is giving me the option of scanning a QR code and I'm doing the same. Yes, done. Okay, now it is asking me to two consecutive codes from your MFA device. So the first code is displayed. I'm just putting that 423982. Okay, I have to put the another code as well, which will refresh after 30 seconds. So I still need to wait for few seconds. And this is one time activity. You don't have to do it every day. Every day you just have to enter your AWS password and one code. That's all. So the next code is displayed on my phone now. 589072. That's good. And add MFA. That's all. Done. You can see this one. MFA device assigned. You can register up to 8 MFA devices of any combination. That means, for suppose unfortunately your phone is not accessible, your phone is lost or something, right? You will lose the access to your AWS account. So what you can do is you can do it on multiple phones as well, like your phone, your friend's phone, your family member's phone. You can do that as well, but usually that's not required. One should be good. Okay, so this one is MFA. You can see here device type is virtual because we didn't have any actual physical device, and this is some unique name that is nothing but my account number and whatever name I have given, my AWS MFA. Okay, so I'm stopping here for 2 minutes. In case you're having any doubt till now on this MFA part, you can ask me. Let me check with someone. So, Dolly, do you have any doubt?
No, I'm good, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move to the next one. So, we'll be creating some users. So, we'll be going back to IAM again. Sorry. So, on the left side, you can see that there are different options like users group, users, roles, policies, and few more stuff. We'll be starting with users. And you can see here. Now, earlier it was giving some red message and all, right? Now it is completely giving a green signal. Root user has MFA installed. That's good. So we'll click on users. I will come back to users group later, but before creating a group, let's create a user first. So we'll click on user. You can see that there is no user available as of now. So we'll add user. You can give some name. So there are two type of user. One is root user and another one is we call it as IAM user. That means the developer, tester, data analyst who will be logging into your AWS account for their day-to-day work. Those are like IAM users. You can give any meaningful name. So IAM user one. Definitely, it's not a meaningful name. I can give some name as well, like Sampan. Okay, I can give like this also. And after that, you can click this one. Provide user access to AWS Management Console. This is optional. Okay, I will tell you. There are two type of access. One access is like UI access. People should be able to log in into AWS console and they should be able to do something. Apart from that, there can be programmatic access as well. Suppose someone is not actually interested to log in into your UI, they don't need that. But they need access to your account because they want to do something. For example, they want to read some data from S3. They want to write some data into S3. Or there is any database configured in your AWS account and someone wants to connect to that database. They want to read some data from the table. So they won't be actually coming to your AWS console, but still they need access. Okay. So you can select this option. After that, you can see this. Are you providing console access to a person? So you can select the lower option. I want to create an IAM user. And you can read this here. We recommend that you create IAM user only if you need to enable programmatic access. So there are few things like we can define later also. Like right now we are creating the user only. After user creation, we have to assign some permissions also, because without permission there is no point of creating a user. So we'll talk about that as well. So username would be this one, whatever you specify here, that would be username. And password, either you click on auto generated password, so AWS will create a some password for you, or if you want to give some custom password, you can even do that and provide your password here, right? And on top of that, user must create a new password at next sign in, because you may be putting some password like password at the rate 123. It's very simple. That's only one time password for them. First time they will log in, AWS will ask them to change your password immediately. That's also a good practice. So you can do that. It's completely up to you. There are many options. You can go with auto generate password, you can specify your own password, you can even forcefully you can put this condition that they have to change the password in first time. Okay, that's all. We'll be clicking on next. Okay, it's asking for custom password. I will put something. Okay, now there are many options here. First is add users to group. Creating group is also a good idea. For example, you have 4 developers in your team and you want to give some access to them. Maybe you want to allow them to read some data from S3. So what you will do is you will go to individual user and then add the permission to read from S3, which is a time consuming process. Moreover, that's error prone, because out of 4, suppose you added the permission for 3 developers and somehow you forgot for the fourth one. That's also not good. So when you create a group, you don't have to provide the permission on individual user level. That's not required. You only allow or deny anything to the group, and that will be applicable. That permission will be propagated to individual users of that group. That's one way we'll be doing in some time. Next option is copy permission. Suppose some developer is already there. Developer 1 joined last month and you have already assigned the required permission to him or her. Now someone has joined today. So definitely you need a new username, new user account. But as far as permissions are required, you can directly copy from the previous user, so that you don't have to add those permissions again and again. You can do that. And even if that's an option is not available, because in our case, this is the first AWS, you can say IAM user account. So we cannot copy permission from any other user. We'll go with the last option, attach policy directly. What is a policy? Policy is nothing but like a, I would say, permissions, because one user can have multiple permission. When the user is allowed to read data from S3, the user is also allowed to create a Lambda function. The user is also allowed to launch one server. The user is also allowed to read and write the data into database. So user can have a lot of permissions. So one policy is about one permission. So if you will come down, you will see that there are a lot of policy listed here, more than 1,000. You can see this. And from the name indicates you, from the name you can get some idea like what these permissions are all about. Administrator access. Let's search for something because otherwise there are a lot of things. I will search for S3. S3 full access. Okay, you can say this one. Amazon S3 full access. If you will attach this permission with your user, that means that user will be able to do anything on S3. They can create a bucket, they can delete a bucket, they can read the data, they can write the data, they can do everything. But in case you are not interested to give full access, I think there should be read also.
So
Here,
this is the same way how we do in Unix, right? Means
Unix
concept is
there is
same, right?
no, yeah, concept is same, but Unix there is no inbuilt policies are there. But I understood your point. There is a read and write permission in Unix.
Read, write, yeah.
So
Permission is there,
correct. So
right?
there's a
Mm-hmm.
file. There's a file, and we want that every team member should be able to read that. So we'll give read permission to them. But maybe
Mm-hmm.
for one person, you will you will give the write permission also. That means they can edit your file. So this is read write permission. Here, like it's very detailed one because there are hundreds of services in AWS, and
Mm-hmm.
you will give some permissions accordingly. But yes, coming to your point, there is a concept of read only and full access here as well in AWS.
Mm-hmm. And this is what we are doing right now is like a all admin part, right?
Admin part, yes, you are right. So right now as a root user, because I logged in as a root account and I am
Mm-hmm.
creating other users, but tomorrow onwards
Mm-hmm.
we will be logging in with my AWS, this one IAM user account, because I will be doing the development activity. So only for billing things, only for when you are adding a new user, only for such stuff, you need to log in as a root account. Otherwise, day to day development activity, you should log in with your IAM user account.
So, yes.
Does, does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. And so developer do not need to take care of all those things, right? Only the admin should take care of how it
Yes.
should work like.
Right, right, correct. So as a user, you are not worried about like what other users are there and who
Mm-hmm.
created their account, what is their password. That's not
Mm-hmm.
your concern. Your root
Mm-hmm.
account or your admin user, you can say, they will
Mm-hmm.
be creating the users and they can add and remove the permission as and when required. As a developer, you will get some account one day that okay, this is your username, this is your temporary password. Log in into AWS console, and then you can start doing your development activities.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, friends, so I'm back. In case you are having any doubt till this point, we created one user, right? So, okay, so we were assigning some permission. So I'm selecting this Amazon S3 read only access. We'll click on next. Okay, and now it will display a few details. You can quickly check that. So the username is Sampath and password is custom password, which I provided. Required password reset, yes. He has to change the password. Then what are the permissions? Two permissions are there. IAM user change password. We did not add that, but AWS has already added that permission because the user is allowed to change the password. And one permission we added, that is Amazon S3 read only access. There are tags also. Let me tell you what are the tags. Tag is nothing but just like a, you can say, price tag in the mall, right? Or sometime I would say, suppose there are two teams, and for one team you have given some name like red team, blue team, something like that. So tag has no technical significance. It is just for your, like I would say, uh, classification or your identification. For example, you are creating this user for a particular team, so you can add a tag. I would say key is team name. Okay, and here I will give team one, and that's all. If you want to give something else like this team email ID, so email ID, and you can give something team one at the rate gmail.com. I'm just telling you that uh, tag has no technical significance. It's only for your identification. Because suppose tomorrow you have 50 users and someone will ask, these 50 users are for one team. You will say, no, these are not for one team. Every user I have added a tag like which team he is part of, something like that, and what is their email address. And not only AWS, this one IAM user, every single resource you will create in AWS, whether it's a server, it's EC2 instance, Lambda function, database, anything, it will always give you the option to add a tag, and it is always optional. You don't need to add it every time. But today, because we are doing first time, I'm showing you how to add a tag, and that's all. Click on create user. That's all. We are done. Now you can send these details to your user, maybe over email or something. This is the URL they need to open. This is the username and this is the password. You can see this one. Email sign in instruction. You can copy from here and just send it to your developer. He or she should be able to log in into AWS console using these credentials. Okay. So I'm stopping here. In case you're having any doubt till this point, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll be talking about the next concept.
Can you please tell me once again the benefit of like what is the use of this tag actually?
So tag is only for identification. For example, let me pick some layman example. Suppose there is a team building activity, right? And we are doing some game. So there are 20 team members and we have to create four teams. So maybe I would say, okay, the first team is, I can give some name like first team is team A. So the A is the tag for those people. And then there are five more people. I would say you are team B. So B is the
Okay,
tag for them. Does not
okay.
make much difference. A and B
Mhm,
are like not, it's not like that A is superior or B is down, nothing like
mhm.
that, just for an identification.
So
So
does it
tag is like
mean
that.
subgrouping? Like you are subgrouping the.
Grouping, yes, you can say, yeah, you are right. You can say grouping.
Okay,
To identify, later on you want to identify that, okay, these users are related to this team and these
okay.
different users are needs, they are different team. So,
Mm-hmm.
and apart from identification, there is another benefit also.
Mm-hmm.
When you are getting your bill, I mean, right now we are in training account, but in a
Mm-hmm.
real project, in a real company, you will be getting your bill every month. Now you
Mm-hmm.
want to know that which team is consuming more. In
Okay.
that case, your AWS can segregate your build based upon the tags. That means at the time of resource creation, you should add some tag like team name is team one and another resource
Mhm,
team B, like that. So that at the end of the month, you can say that this team A is launching a lot of server because they are
mhm.
consuming almost like 80% of total cost, and team B
Okay.
is like only consuming 20% of the total cost. It will help you to do some segregation, do some grouping, do
Mhm.
some analytics on that.
Okay. So you mean to
But
say
otherwise, there is no
one
technical
project?
significance of that.
Okay. Do you mean like in one project we have a different teams and we are putting a different tags to the different teams, right?
Right, correct. Because sometimes creating different accounts for different team is not a good idea. I will tell
Mm-hmm.
you because AWS gives some discount. Suppose you are using these many servers in a month, then they will give some discount. So what company do is they
Mm-hmm.
combine multiple teams into single account so that they can get benefits of discounts and all. And
Okay.
they can segregate with help of tags, segregate with help of groups. There are
Mm-hmm.
many more ways. They can create the permission in such a way that the people from team A they cannot access the resources created by team B. You are still under same AWS account, but the permissions are in place. So it's not like that someone will access your data or someone will delete your data. That will never happen. But you have to definitely manage your permissions in a proper way.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, let's come back and we'll talk about other stuff. So PDF, I usually don't spend much time because PDF are really boring, right? But yes, PDF has all the steps captured along with a screenshot, which will help you later on to do the things practically on your account. But during the class, I spend more time on the console and less time on the PDF. But let's quickly check what we have done. We talked about multi-factor authentication and we talked about IAM users, right? The next is IAM groups. Okay, so let's talk about IAM groups now. As I was giving an example, right? If you have users, your group is there, you can directly assign the permission to the group directly. And if there are 5 members, 10 members, everyone will get that permission automatically. Let me show you. Click on users group, click on create group, and provide some name. I would say developer group. Okay, you can give any meaningful name. Developer group is there. Add users to the group, optional. I mean, at this point of time, during the creation itself, if you want to add some user to this group, you can do that. Or if you want to add the user later, you can do that as well. But let's do it now. Even when you are creating a WhatsApp group, in the beginning itself, it will allow you to add the people to the group. Same thing is here. So one user is available with us. We'll click on that, and this user will be added to this group. And after that, you want to attach some policy to this group, you can do that, and that will be applicable to all the users. As of now, only one user we have added, but suppose there are 5 users added to the group, the policy will be applicable to all the users. Let me search some permission. S3 we have already added, right? I will search for lambda function. You can see the first one, AWS lambda execute. It's only for execution. You are not allowed to create a lambda. You are not allowed to edit a lambda. You will not be even allowed to delete the lambda. But maybe that's what's your requirement is, because you do not want that the junior people or the trainee, right, they are editing your code or by mistake they delete your lambda. You don't want that. You are giving permission so that they can just execute the lambda function. So we'll go with this. Okay, and you can add multiple also, not only single. There are many more policies. You can add all and then create group. Yeah, that's all. Now let's do one thing. Let's go back to the user. I will go back to the user, click on user, and let's see what are the permissions there. You can see here, this S3 read only access we added when we created the user, but AWS lambda execute I didn't add to the user. This is coming from the group. You see here, this policy, the first one, S3 read only, this is directly attached, and the last one, change password, that's also directly attached. But the middle permission is not directly attached to this user. That is coming from the group, developer group. It will help you to manage your permissions in more convenient way. Suppose some developer is joining as today is the first day, you don't have to worry about what type of permission you should add to that user, because you know he will be joining the developer team and you already have a developer group. Simply add that user to the developer group. He or she will automatically get all the required permission, whichever are already granted to your other developers. Okay, so this is about groups. Any questions on this? Okay, if there is no doubt, that's good. We'll be moving to the next thing. Next is role. What is a role? Sometimes the same user may have to play different roles. In that case, you cannot assign the permission directly to the user, because maybe sometime I'm working as a developer, so I have to use that developer role. Sometime I'm working as a tester, so I have to use that role. Sometime I even have to work as an admin, so I need a admin role. So blindly assigning the permission to a single user is not a good idea. Rather, we create different roles, and then user can pick that role as and when required. And one more thing is there, not only human being. There are, suppose let's take an example. You are launching one server and you will be running some code on that server. Now that code will try to read some data from S3, or it will try to write some data into database. That means that server needs some permission. In AWS, you cannot do anything without permission. Not only human being, even any resource, any server, any lambda function, anything. If you are doing something, you need permission. In this case, we need to assign some permission to the server, and we need to create a role. So when we create a role, it's very easy to manage. The reason being is, suppose you have one server today, so you can assign that role to that server, and that server will be able to perform only those things which are the permissions are added to that particular role. Tomorrow, suppose you are launching one more server, you can use the same role. You can assign the same role to the second server else also, and second server will also perform only those things which are allowed as per that role. So let's see how to create a role. You will understand in more detail. I will click on the left side roles, and as of now there are few roles created by AWS, so you can ignore that. We'll be creating our own role, create role. So now, as I said, like roles are mainly for known human being, like server or lambda functions and like that, and definitely that lambda function or server will be doing something specific. Accordingly, you can choose some system role. So now you can choose AWS service, and I will choose EC2. There are many more. Don't think only EC2 and lambda. These are common. You can see that common use case. EC2 and lambda are common use case, but there is a full list of AWS services here. You can choose any service. So as of now, to keep it simple, we'll go with EC2 and click on next. Now choose some permission. Suppose I want to run some code on my server, and that code will be ultimately uh, reading and writing the data to Redshift. Redshift is one of the, I can say, database in AWS. So let me search for some permission. Redshift. Okay, it's coming now. The first one is Amazon Redshift full access. Then Amazon Redshift read only access. It's up to you, like what type of permissions you are looking for. And we should always go with minimum permissions required. If someone needs read only, allow only that part. Don't give read write. Otherwise, someone will unnecessarily delete your table, and then you will see where is my table gone. So now let's add this one only. I would give second one. Amazon Redshift read only access. I am giving to this role. And until or unless this role is not assigned to someone, then there is no point. But it's not required immediately. I mean, today you can create a role. Later on, maybe tomorrow's class or next week, we'll be launching one server. At time of launch, it will ask you, do you have any role created for this server? That time our role is ready, we will quickly assign that. Okay, so we'll choose some permission. You can even choose multiple. Along with Redshift, let me add one more, S3. S3 full access. Okay, so I'm giving two permissions: Redshift read only and S3 full access. And then click on next. Role name, you can give my EC2 instance IAM role, just to make it meaningful. So as the name indicates, my EC2 instance IAM role. That means I will be launching some EC2 instance, some server, and this role will be assigned to that server. If you have some team, if you have some project name, if you want to give some meaningful name, you can give that. So that because multiple members are working on the same account, they should know what this role is all about. So I'm giving this name, and you can provide some description, although they have already provided. Allow EC2 instance to call AWS services on your behalf. Ultimately, some developer will be running some code, but since this code is running on a server, so these permissions are applicable to that server. And after that, this some you can say JSON type of thing will come. You don't need to edit this, keep it as it is. Add permissions, we have already done. S3 full access and Redshift read only access. Tags, as I told you, right? Any single resource you will create, it will ask you to add tag, but it was always optional. If you don't want to add, keep it, I mean leave it. That's all. Click on create role. Review, you can review once again. This is my role name. Okay, I think that's done. Good. Okay, so my role is created now. You can see this one, my EC2 instance IAM role, and this is mainly for EC2 service. So I'm stopping here. In case you're having any doubt on this role creation part, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll be moving to the next one. Let me randomly check with someone. Navya, could you please confirm if you have any doubt? Shushma, could you please confirm?
No doubts.
Okay, that's good. Okay, let me come back to my console. We'll do one more thing, that is policies. So policies are, I would say, combination of permissions. Sometime for a particular project, for a particular use case, you need few permissions like Redshift, S3. So you can combine them and you can create a single policy. The benefit is, suppose you want to you want to add those 2 3 permission to the developer or to the group, then you don't have to choose multiple, like you will search for Redshift, then you will search for S3, you will search for Lambda. That's not required. It's like a package, you can say. So you define that package once, you add multiple permissions over there, and later on you can use that policy to add to a group or to directly to the user. So first of all, there are 1,000+ policy provided by AWS. As you have noticed, today I was only only searching, right? These policies are already available, and all are AWS managed. You can see here, AWS managed, but it also allows you to create your policy. Let's do that. I will click on create policy. It will give you even fine control, because when you are going with AWS managed policy, just like we talked about S3 full access or S3 read only. But even under S3 read only, there are many more permissions which you can customize as per your need. So I will show you how to customize that. So first of all, which service you are looking for, I would say S3. Uh, S3. Okay. Now you can see that there are lot of permissions are there. There is a list. Under list, if you will expand that, you can see that list access point, list bucket, list jobs, list storage lens configuration. Because on a high level, AWS is saying that there are two permissions, AWS S3 read only and S3 full access. But I'm saying that, okay, I don't want to give that full read only. Even in that read only, I want to customize. So you can do it here. For example, in the list section, I just want people, they should be allowed only for listing the bucket and listing the job. Other listing, I don't want they try. And even if they try, AWS will display an error message that as per your permissions, you are not allowed to do that. Okay. Suppose I will go to read. There are, you can say that around 53 permissions under read. Out of that, I would like to pick few. So I would say describe job and get object. Get object is nothing but reading it. Get job tagging. Someone has add some tags, so I want to get those tags. And that's all, for example. Okay, so basically I'm customizing. It's very fine grained permissions. I'm customizing it. In the right, do you want to give some right permission? It's up to you. If you want to give, you can do, because we are creating a customized policy. You can mix something read, something write, something listing. It's completely up to you. So I just selected few things and it is asking that these permissions, whatever you selected, these are applicable to all the resources, all S3 buckets, or to a specific bucket. We can do that also. If there are 10 S3 bucket and you are giving, suppose, some permission, you may not be giving to all the buckets, because maybe different buckets are owned by different teams. I don't want my team member are trying to read data from other team's bucket. I don't want that. In that case, you will give the permission to a specific bucket, and in that case you have to choose a bucket. But as of now, we do not have any bucket, as you know. So I will go with all. It's okay as of now. Later on, you can come at any point of time and you can change it. You can see this one. The wildcard star may be overly permissions for the selected action. They are saying that giving permission to all bucket is not a good idea, but it's okay. I mean, they are not stopping you, but they are just warning you that this is not a good idea. Later on, we will change it when we have some S3 bucket available. As of now, I do not have any bucket ready. Okay, that's all. So I added some selective permissions, and as of now, I'm saying that this permission is applicable to all the buckets and click on next. Okay. uh, Policy name, you have to provide some name. So my first IAM policy, you can give some meaningful name. I'm just giving something. Description you can provide as per your choice. Permissions we have given limited. This is very limited permission. We have given few in read and few in list. Add tags, again it's optional, you can skip that and click on create policy. That's all. So now, along with the AWS managed policy, now the customer managed policy are also available. You can see the first one. First of all, this does not have this AWS symbol. Why? Because it's not AWS managed, it's customer managed. Second thing is type. You can see from here, all other are AWS managed, but the first one is customer managed because we created our own customized policy as per our need. And now, when you are creating a developer or when you are creating a user group, you can add this policy, the customized one. Shall I show you? I will go back to the groups. I will directly associate with the group, not to the individual user. Okay. So click on permissions, and as of now, only this permission is there. AWS Lambda execute, and this permission is AWS managed. Along with this, I would like to add the customer managed policy. So click on add permissions here, attach policy. Click on that, and ours is displayed on the very first. If it's not displayed, you can search FIRST first. It's coming now. Click this, add permission. That's all. Now, since you have added this permission to the group, that means it will be applicable to every user. If you want to quick check, go to users, click on username, and see here. The first one, read only access, directly coming. Second, Lambda execute, coming from developer group. Third one, change password, that's a direct. And the last one, okay, by mistake it's put as me. I was putting my. Anyway, it's fine. My first IAM policy, that is also coming from developer group, and this is customer managed policy, not a AWS managed policy. Okay. This way you can create users, roles, policies, and groups. So that's all about today's class. Let me quickly check the PDF. So we talked about IAM groups, we talked about roles, AWS managed policy, and customer managed policy. And that's all for today. In case you are having any doubt in today's class, you can ask me.
Yeah, Neeraj, can you tell like how roles are assigned to the groups? Like as of now, like what I understood is like we have users and to create a group, like we need the users. And I also
Mhm.
have understood the policies, like and how we are assigned in the user and then the groups. But I didn't understand the roles, like where
Okay.
you have like
So
where.
So first of all, roles are not for like adding to a group or adding to a user. Roles are mainly to add to a AWS resource. That can be a Lambda function, that can be a EC2 instance. So our next class is about EC2 instance. That's nothing but a virtual server. So when we will create our first virtual server, at that point of time, I will assign this role. Whatever we created today, will assign this role to that server, and then it will be more clear to you.
Okay, yeah.
Any other doubt from anyone else? Mani, you have any doubt? Srikant?
No. Oh, Neeraj.
Okay. Vamsi, you are asking something? Your voice was very low. Okay, so if there is no doubt, we are good for the day.